Om Namah Shivaya. Welcome to this second session of the understanding of Shiv Mahim Stotra. As you know, this is a stotra written by Sri Pushpadantaji Maharaj. We start with our prayers and gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara, with whose grace this knowledge is preserved, protected and transmitted through generations. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Vijay Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with a prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the first session, we saw all this that Pushpadantaji Maharaj said in the first to the ninth shlokas, which included the different Swarupas of the Lord Shiva, the Nirgun, the Saguna and the Arvachin Swarupa. And he described the Ishwaratva of the Lord, how he is the Jagat Utpatti, Sthiti and Samharakarta. And then finally now, in the next 10 shlokas, from the 10th to the 20th, he's going to describe all the Leela, all the kathas of the Lord Shiva in his Arvachin Swarupa, which have been mentioned in the Shiva Purana. So we saw that the first story was the origin of the Shiva Linga, where he starts the Shiva Stuti, Tavaishwaryam Yatnat Yadupari Viranchi Harirada. We saw that how Brahmaji and Vishnuji, they tried to get across the Anila Skanda, the illuminated Skanda, which came in between them when they had a fight. And both of them tried a lot, but they could not get to the root of this illuminated Linga. And then both of them devoted to the Lord with a lot of devotion. And then Swayam Shiva appeared in front of them. And then finally, Pushpadantaji Maharaj says, Tava Kim Anuvrutti Nafanati, your devotion, does it ever go in vain? No, it never goes in vain. It always gives the fruits of the devotion of Lord Shiva. Coming to the 11th shloka, now the story of Ravana starts, that Bhagavan is Kripalu, Dayasindhu towards all the devotees, may it be Deva, Asura, even Asuras like Ravana were graced by the Lord Shiva. Ayatnadapadhya tribhuvanam vairavyatikkaram dashasyo yat pahun brutarana kandu paravashan shirah padma shreni rachita charanam bhoruhabale stirayasvat Bhakte Stripurahara Visfurjitamidam. So this is the story of the Ravana, and before understanding the shloka, we need to understand the story so that we can understand the shloka in more details. So in all these next 9 to 10 shlokas in today's session, we will understand the story first before we understand the shloka or the meaning of the shloka. So the story of the Ravana is that when Ravana was a child, he was sleeping in the lap of his mother Kaikasi on the terrace, and when he saw once that there was a Pushpak Vimana, an airplane which was flying in the sky, and he asked his mother, what is this flying object that I am seeing? And his mother tells him that this is Pushpak Vimana and this belongs to Kubera, your brother. And then Ravan asks, how can he get this Pushpak Vimana? And his mother says that he did a lot of penance for Lord Shiva and pleased Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva gifted him this Pushpak Vimana. And if you want to also get such a kind of Vimana, you have to do penance and worship Lord Shiva. So Ravana, he goes to the forest and he does penance, intense penance for many years. He spends from childhood, he becomes an adult. He also does Rudrayag, Yagna, lots of many yagnas, but Shiva does not get pleased even by this. And finally, Ravana decides to surrender everything, and finally a time comes when he starts surrendering his own body. He had Dasashyo, he was having 10 heads, so he started surrendering his heads, worshipping the Lord and giving arpana of the head in his yagna. So he first gave his one head, but there was no benefit, and then he started giving up all his heads. So he surrendered 9 of his heads one after the other, and when he was about to chop his 10th head, Lord Shiva appeared. He appeared in front of him, and then he asks him, "What do you want?" He asks for unlimited power and unlimited wealth. And Lord Shiva, Bholenath, he gave him whatever he desired. So let us understand the shloka meaning. Tripura Hara is the Sambodhana to Lord Shiva, who is Tripurasura. He did Dahana of Tripura. This story will come today. Dasashya Ayatnat Apadya. Ravana effortlessly achieved Tribhuvana Rajya, the 3 lokas, Avaira Vyatikaram, without any enemies, because he had such unlimited powers, unlimited energy from Shiva that he could destroy. No Deva had the power to fight against him, and they just surrendered their kingdom, and he became the Triloka Raja. So that was effortlessly because of the grace of Lord Shiva. Yad Bahun Bruta Ranakandu Paravashan. That mighty Ravana was always eager to wage a war, but he was so strong that nobody dared to wage a war against him. Shirap Padma Shreni, Rachita Charanam Bohru Uhabale, means that Ravan offered at your feet a garland of lotuses. Padma Shreni, a garland of lotuses were offered at the Charana Uhabale in front of the Lord, and all this comes from this Purana story where he offered all his 9 heads. And Sthiraya Tvad Bhakte Visfurjitam Idam, your one-pointed devotion always gives fruit. Does it not give a fruit? No, it always gives a fruit, even to asuras like Ravan, who became a very mighty king from being an asura to becoming a very, very mighty king because of the grace of Lord Shiva. So devotion of the Lord always gives benefits, always gives the fruits. And let us understand the spiritual meaning of the story. Guruma explains to us that anyone can devote to the Lord and they will get the fruits of the devotion. It may be people with having Daivi Sampatti or with Asuri Sampatti. We all have Daivi as well as Asuri Sampattis within us. So anybody can devote to the Lord. It's not that only people who have clean mind can devote to the Lord. All are eligible, suitable, adhikari for bhakti of the Lord. So that is the first understanding that we should get. Sthiraya Tvad Bhaktehe. When Bhagwan says Sthira Bhakti means a firm resolve with a lot of resolution, with determination, bhakti, and the basis or the foundation of this bhakti, which is Sthira, is Shraddha. So Shraddha, faith, is very, very important, and firm resolution means that bhakti is done with a niyama, that okay, I will do this, that, and then we have to obey and respect that niyama, and we have to carry out that bhakti accordingly, whether one malaji or one seva, one puja, whatever we decide, we should keep japa, nama, all these we should keep on doing it regularly. So firm decision or firm resolution protects the devotee, it causes raksha, but it should not be such that it becomes too rigid, because our life is such that there are ups and downs in life, and these niyamas should not bind us. We should, of course, we should try to stick to them as much as possible. But if such a situation happens in our life that it is, we can compromise for some time and then get back to this niyama again. And the devotee always feels that whatever happens to him is due to the grace of the God. This third factor, apart from our efforts and our destiny, prayatna and purushartha and prarabdha. And apart from this, there is this third factor which governs the law, and this grace of the Almighty or the Lord is very, very important for us. Surrender of the heads of Ravana indicates that it indicates that we should surrender our pride, because our pride is one of the biggest obstacles on this journey. Does not allow us to get a pure mind, doesn't allow us to get dissolved with the God consciousness. And that's why this 10 heads indicates our 10 senses, Dasha Indriya, 5 Gnanendriya and 5 Karmendriya. And these Dasha Indriya, which are very powerful, and they are Bahirmukha, they are always outgoing, they always want to go into objects, and they want to get that temporary happiness. And that's why this control, Indriya Sanyama, becomes very, very important part of our spiritual journey. And to surrender our Dash Indriya to the Lord means that from Bahirmukha, we take this Indriya and get back and roll back into our Antarmukha, make them inwardly going, so that we contemplate on our own real self, the Atman, and that is the crux of our spiritual journey. And bhakti bhava. Bhava is a very important part of bhakti, because if bhakti is done with a lot of faith, there will be bhakti bhava, a lot of emotion, connection with the Lord. And this is very important. Another story that Guruji told us is about Nandi and Kirata, where the Bhakti Bhav Nandi is also a devotee, and Kirata is a hunter. He's also a devotee. Both of them are devotees, but Kirata, the hunter, does with a lot of devotion. Though he Archana he does with the mass and all these that he hunts, Goshta and others, but then he does it with a lot of bhava, and Shivaji becomes pleased with his bhakti, and Nandi becomes the Nandi of the Shiva, and Kirat becomes he becomes the Mahakala when he's given Udhara by Lord Shiva. So that is another story of Bhakti Bhava. And then in the next shloka, when Ravana misuses this might, when he becomes very egoistic, with a lot of full of pride and arrogance, and when he misuses this power and tries to go against Lord Shiva himself, what happens? What is the kind of sthiti that happens to a devotee who becomes too egoistic is shown in the next shloka. Amushya tvat seva samadhigata saram bhujavanam balat kailasepi twadadivasatau vikramayatah alapya patale pyalasachalitam gusthasirashi pratishtha tvayasi druvamapuchitiyo muhyati khalaha. So in this shloka, in this Purana story, Ravan wants to lift Kailasha. And what happens when he wants to? So the story says that Ravan's mother, Kaikashi, she was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And every day she would go to the ocean. She would make linga, Shiva linga from 5 floors, different types of floor. And then she will make a linga, and then she will worship that linga. And then she will, surrender that linga into the ocean. So this was a daily routine. Once what happened was that Indra, who was quite upset with Ravana because he had taken away all this kingdom of the Devas, he took the linga and in a frenzy he threw this linga into the ocean. So mother, when she opened her eyes after the worship, she could not find the linga, and then she wanted that same linga that was thrown into the ocean. So when Ravan came, he saw that the mother was very upset. She wanted that linga. So Ravan says that, why you want that linga? I'll get you the Shiva himself along with Mount Kailasha, because he thought that he has so much power, he can get anything and everything. And that's why Ravana went to Kailasha and he tried to lift Kailasha. And then when Kailasha started moving, Parvati became fearful. She said, Bhagwan, why is it that this Mount Kailasha is trembling? And Ravan says, okay, don't worry. This child Ravana, he's doing some krida, he's doing some play, he's playing with Kailasha, and that's why he's trying to move Kailasha. Don't worry. And then Ravana tries to move Kailasha or try to lift Kailasha, and there is another big tremble. Parvati again gets very worried, and Shiva, he just presses his toe a little bit, and Kailash starts going down. And when the Kailash starts going down, Ravana also was trying to lift Kailasha, he also goes down, and he could not find his feet anywhere. And he reached up to Patal Loka, but he could not even place his feet anywhere. And then Ravana becomes very worried, he gets fearful, and then he devotes to Lord Shiva. He does the Samaveda Gana, he sings Samaveda because it can be sung, and Shiva gets pleased, and he releases his big toe and releases Ravana. Ravana then at that time creates the Tandava Stotra, and Shiva, another story says that Shiva started dancing, doing Tandav Nritya, and he lifts his toe, and Ravana is free. So these are some of the stories of the Shiva Purana. So let us understand the meaning of the shloka. Amushya tvat seva samadhi gatasaram bhujavanam. Only with your seva, puja, Ravana acquired a lot of power and a lot of strength because of the bhakti that he did, sthira bhakti. And then he tried to use this strength on the Kailasha, your own home. Balat Kailashe api twadadi vasatau vikramayata. And what happened? Alabhya patale apicha sachalitam gushta sirasi. Your effortlessly you pressed your great toe. Alabhya, without much effort you did that. Gushta sirasi. And what happened? Patale api, he could not find a place. Ravan could not find a place in the lower lokas. And this we have to understand. Guruji tells us that this is a kathora krupa. If we try to do a lot of pride or arrogance, Bhagavan also, who is very dayalu, but also sometimes he does not do punishment to his devotees, but what he does is also a kind of krupa which is called kathor krupa. He tries to teach us a lesson by, apparently to us it looks like this is punishment, but it is not punishment. He does this just to make us realize that this is our mistake and that we get onto the better path and we again get uplifted and our progress happens. So this is also krupa, a form of krupa of the Lord, which is what we have to see. Pratishtha tvai yasi dhruvam upachita muhyati khala. A wicked person becomes deluded when he gets too much of strength. So this is the last line, is like a saying that Pushpadantaji Maharaj says. This is a message that even a wicked person becomes muhyati. Khala means a wicked person. When he gets too much of strength, his pratishtha is tvai na asida, that he becomes very deluded. So this is the understanding of this shloka. We come to the next shloka, which is the story of Banasura, and what happens that Banasura surrenders to the Lord, what kind of boon he gets. Yadadhi sutramno varada paramochairapi satim madaschakre bana parijana vidhaya stribhuvanaha natachitram tasmin varivasatiriva charanayoho nakasyapyunnat bhavati shirasatvaya vanati. So this is the story of the Banasura. Let us understand the story first before we go on to the shloka. Banasura was a asura. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he used to worship daily Lord Shiva with 1000 lotuses on the banks of river Narmada at the present location of Jabalpura near the Beda Ghat, which is a very famous ghat on Narmada river. And Shivji was very, very pleased with his puja and seva, and that's why he gifted him 1000 strong hands. So 1000 on each side, so it became 2000 hands, and Banasur became very strong. And still he continued his worship with all these 2000 hands. He used to worship the Lord every day. One day after the worship, after the puja, he was very, very happy and he started clapping. And with his 2000 hands, he started clapping. And it produced a very thunderous noise, very big noise, and Shiva also became very pleased with this loud noise. So he again got pleased and he asked Banasur, what do you want? Banasur says, Lord Shiva, you please come yourself and become my protector. Please become my protector. Lord Shiva, being Bholenath, he was very kind. He says, Tathastu. And he, along with Parvati ji, he came to the kingdom of Shonitpur, where Banasur was the king, which is quite near Kailasha, present location, somewhere in the north of India. And he started becoming like a security guard to Banasur, and that is how Lord Shiva used to live. Banasur had a lot of strength, but there was nobody in this world to match his strength, because he has 2000 hands, a lot of strength given by Lord Shiva himself. He was itching to fight, and that's why once while he was doing seva of Shiva and he was pressing his feet, he told Shiva that I want to fight somebody. Is there somebody in this world who can fight me? And Lord Shiva told him that whenever your samakakshi or your suitable candidate will come, somebody who is going to be a match for you, the flag on your palace will come to a half, it will fall to the half. So that is how you will know that somebody is now come to match your strength. In the meanwhile, Banasur's wife Usha became very friendly with Parvati. They used to play together, they used to go out and they used to take bath in the river together. So once they were taking a bath in the river, and suddenly Lord Shiva called Parvati for a dance. And this kind of dance with the Parvati is called Lasya Nrutya, where Shiva and Parvati both dance together. Parvati took some time in getting ready. In the meantime, Usha disguised as Parvati and went for the dance. When Parvati got ready and reached there, she saw that Usha was dancing with Shiva, and she cursed Usha that you will be maligned, your body also will become maligned. And then Usha was very upset. She said, this is my fault, please forgive me. And Parvati ji tells her that okay, the person who will malign you will also marry you, and that's why you will be saved from this black spot. Once Usha dreamt of a relationship with a male in her dreams, and then when she wakes up, she doesn't know who this is. So she goes to her friend Chitralekha, who was a great artist who could make a lot of portraits. So Chitralekha drew lots of pictures, and finally when she drew the picture of Shri Krishna, she says, okay, it resembles quite close. And then she drew Pradyumna, he says, okay, it resembles very close. And when she drew Aniruddha, Aniruddha is the grandson of Krishna and the son of Pradyumna. So Aniruddha, she says, okay, he is the person who has maligned me in my dreams and had this kind of a Ratikrida with me in the dreams. And that's why what Chitralekha also had some magical powers, Yoga Shakti. So she abducted Aniruddha from the kingdom of Dwarika and brought her to the kingdom of Shonitpur, where Aniruddha was living with Usha for almost 4 months. Here Shri Krishna and Pradyumna were all worried, where is Aniruddha? And when Naradji comes here to meet Shri Krishna, he tells Shri Krishna that they are in the Shonitpur, in the Nagari of Banasur. So Lord Krishna, along with his own Sena, he comes, Yadu Sena, he comes to fight. And when he reaches the kingdom of Shonitpur, the flag of Banasur fell. And Banasur realized that some brave person has come to fight with me. So there was a fierce battle between Krishna and Banasur. Lord Shiva was the protector of Banasur, and that's why there was a battle between Krishna and Shiva. It was a very fierce battle between the two, and Krishna then finally used the Jumbanastra on the Lord Shiva. So Shivaji, he started yawning, and when Shiva started yawning, Krishna chopped off 1,000 hands of Banasur, and then Shiva, he pleads to Krishna that please, he is my devotee, please spare him, don't kill him. And Krishna spares Banasur, and finally then Banasur, Aniruddha and Usha, they got married, and then they went to Dwarika. So that is the story of Banasur. And let us see the shloka. Varada, hey Varada, O giver of all the boons, giver of Vardana. Lord Shiva is very known because he gives all the Vardana to all these Deva Asura. Parama Puchyapi Tasmin. He says, because of your devotion, Chakre Bana, who is very powerful, the Banasur, Parijana Vidhai Tribhuvanama. He accumulated so much of wealth in these 3 lokas that nobody could match him. Yat Vidhi Sutramna, that wealth of even Sutramna means Indra, it looked faded in the comparison of what the wealth of Banasura was. Natat Chitram Tasmin, Varivasatira Tvat Charanayo. Banasur had surrendered his head to your feet, O Lord Shiva, and you gave him unlimited wealth, because of which he became so powerful. And by surrender unto you, whose progress does not happen, it always happens. Kasyapi unnati na bhavati shirasatvai avanati. It says, by surrender to you, whose progress does not happen, it always happens. That is a question mark, but it means that yes, by surrender unto you, always there is unnati of anyone. The next shloka is about the incident or the event when Lord Shiva drank Visha or poison during the Samudra Manthana. For saving the universe, Jagat Raksha Kaje, Shivaji, he had to drink this Visha. So this is the shloka. Akanda Brahmanda Shaya Chakita Deva Sura Krupa Vidheyasya Siddhya Strinayana Visham Samhyatavataha Sakalmasha Kanthe Tavana Kurutena Shrimaho Vikaropi Shladhyo Bhuvana Bhayabhanga Vyasaninaha. So this is the story of Samudra Manthana. What happened was, once Durvasa Muni went to Vaikuntha and he met Lord Vishnu, who gifted him a lotus garland. With this lotus garland, Durvasa was coming back from Vaikuntha, and via Swargaloka he was coming back. When he met Indra, who was going on his elephant, his own vehicle, the Airavata elephant, the white elephant, and Durvasa became happy. He gifted him this lotus garland and said that this is the gift of Lord Vishnu himself. But Indra was very intoxicated because he had just won over the Deva Asura Sangrama, and they had defeated the Asuras, and he had become the victorious. So he was quite intoxicated in this pride and this arrogance. And that's why what he did was he took this lotus garland and he put it around Airavata, his elephant. His elephant shook his head, and the garland fell down, and the elephant's feet came unto this garland. Seeing this, Durvasa Muni, who was already a Rudra Avtara of Lord Shiva, became very, very angry, seeing that his garland of lotus, which was a gift of the Lord himself, was went under the feet of the elephant. So he cursed Indra that you will lose all your wealth, all your power you will lose one day. And with this shrapa, Indra lost everything. And the Devtas then they were lost. They lost their battle to Asuras. Asura became victorious. And Devtas then went to Brahmaji and said, do something. We have all lost all our powers and energy. Brahmaji said, I can't do anything. You go to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnuji, they go to him. He advises that yes, you will have to do Samudra Manthana, but for this you will have to take help of the Asuras. You cannot do it on your own, because in this then finally you will get nectar, and make sure that you drink the nectar and the Asuras don't drink the nectar, and then with this nectar Amruta you will get all your powers and energy back. So that's how the plan was hatched to do this Samudra Manthana between the Devtas and the Asuras. Devas went to the Asuras, told them that this is how we'll get together, we will do this, there will be a lot of jewels will come, lot of things will be produced from the Samudra, and we will share everything. So when the Samudra Manthan started, lot of jewels were produced from the Samudra. There was no fight amongst the Devas and the Asuras, they all shared this equally. Finally, what happened was that Vish, the poison, was produced, and this came from the head and side of where the Asuras were there on the serpent, and then this Visha. So everybody was worried that this Visha will spread across and it will destroy this world. And then they approached Lord Shiva to tell him that please protect us. Jagat is at stake. And Lord Shiva, who is considered to be the destroyer of the Jagat, but we must understand, Guruma tells us very clearly that he is the protector of the Jagata during the Sthiti Kala. Only during the Samhar Kala he is the destroyer. So they go to Lord Shiva, who gladly agrees to take the wish, to gulp the poison and save this earth. And then he is the destroyer of the Pralaya Kala, but he is the protector of the Srushti Kala. So Parvati ji knows that Shiva is very Bholinath. So whenever he drinks the poison, Parvati ji strangles his throat, and just the wish remains in the throat of the Lord. And that's why his throat becomes blue, and that's why Lord Shiva gets his name Neelakantha. Now let us understand the shloka. He Trinayana, O Lord Shiva with three eyes, is also called Trinayana. The third eye is called the Gnana Chakshu, and this is the Chakshu which is the Chakshu for the Gnana, for all these energy that Lord Shiva has, and it also used for his destruction, and that shows that he's always Jagrat, he's always aware with the knowledge that he has. Akanda Brahmanda Shaya Chakita. Shaya. So at an untimely, when this Visha was produced during Samudra Manthana, the universe was going to come to an end. And Chakita Deva Asura Krupa Videyasya, you know, Chakita, all these astonished Deva Asura, they didn't know what to do when the Visha was produced. And you graced them, you Krupa, Apki Krupa Videyasya, you came on this Deva and the Asura. Yat Vishaya, Vishayam, Visham means poison. Sanyata Vata Asid, you drank this poison, very gladly you drank this poison. Sakalmasha Kanthe, Tavana Kurute Na Shriyamahu. So this Kalmasha, Kalmasha means the dark color, that stain on your neck. Does it not increase your personality? Na Kurute Na Shriyamahu. It increases your personality. It does increase your personality. You drank this for the saving the universe. Vikar Apishladyo, the dark stain becomes like a jewel in your throat. Because why did he do this? Bhuvana Bhaya Bhanga Vyasaninaha. And this is the name of the Lord Shiva, because he's addicted to removing all the fears, all the miseries, all the dukkha, taklifa of this universe. Bhuvana, the entire Bhuvana Bhaya, the fear in the universe, Bhanga, he wants to destroy this, and he has a Vyasaninaha. He is addicted to this. That is the addiction of the Lord. He is so Krupalu, so Dayalu, that he doesn't want that there should be any fear, misery in this universe. And for this, he gulps this poison, this Visha, and that is the meaning of the shloka. So the meaning for life, this Samudra Manthan, how can we put the spiritual meaning into our lifetime? what Guruji explains to us is that in our minds there is a constant war between the Daivi and the Asuri Sampatti. These are the constant tug of war between the good and the bad qualities, the Sadguna and the Nirguna, Durguna, they are in the rope struggle always, the mind and the intellect. They always keep on, fighting. You want to do something, but your mind says, no, this is the easier way out. And that's how we always, have a war between how much effort should I put, where should I stop and think that this is my destiny, what should I accept, what is the ethics. I want to go on the straightforward mark, but sometimes on the path, but sometimes the easy way out, the temptations of the easier way out. Always this yuddha, this dvandva, this tug of war always goes on in our mind. And what we need to do is that we should make friends with our mind, senses and intellect, because the senses and the mind are the main problem, and intellect controls this. In Gitaji, when this is given a corollary in our Shastra to the chariot, the horses are like the senses. They are outward going. They are very chapala, very, very chanchala, very bahirmukha. And then on this there is a lagama. There is some control by the mind, and the sarathi, the charioteer, is the intellect which controls this. So this is how we have to control our horses and our, by the lagam of the mind. And this is how we have to make friends with our mind, senses and intellect. Otherwise, this can become our enemy. That's what Bhagavan tells us in even Bhagavad Gita, that we can make our mind our enemy, our mind our friend, and it is up to us how we control them and how we use them. And the biggest obstacle that comes in our mind, is the pride. For our own gunas, for our own qualities, we have a lot of pride and we think that we have done this, we can do this. But we have to have viveka, we have to have vichara, we have to think and understand that whatever is being done is because of the grace of the God, grace of the Lord. And that's how we must accept this, that my efforts are there. Yes, I'm doing my efforts, but those efforts are also because of the grace of the Lord. What I get, my destiny, is also because of the grace of the Lord. And that is what is called as a surrender to the Lord. And on the way of this life, we will get some wealth, possessions, we will get some samruddhi, siddhi. Even on the spiritual part, we may get some siddhi, like some peace of mind, some supernatural experiences. All this siddhi, Bhagavan Guruji tells us that we don't give too much of importance to the siddhi. We should try to remain detached from them, try to ignore them. That is what our Shastras tell us. Otherwise, we get entangled in this siddhi and we are not able to progress to the final destination, the final goal. And this is where the Sukshma Ahankara, and this is what it means by the poison, the Visha, is the Sukshma Ahankara, is the final obstacle to our achieving the Amruta. Amruta is the realization of our own self, our own Atma Swarupa, that Gnana Swarupa, Chit Swarupa, Sat Swarupa that we are. And this understanding is a final goal for all of us during our lifetime. And here, finally, what Parvati ji does is strangle this poison in the throat and does not allow it to go down. The spiritual meaning is that we dissipate our ahankara and merge it with the universal consciousness, with the Lord. And how we can do this with the Gnana. Gnana can do this, Bhadita. It will dissolve this ahankara, because my individual identification becomes a identification with the universal consciousness, and my own Atma Swarupa, I am Atma, becomes a Brahma, understanding that we are all one. Tattvam Asi, these are the Mahavakyas of the Upanishad and the Veda, and this is the ultimate understanding of the Samudra Manthan, how we can put this into our life. The next shloka is a story of the Kamadahana, Kamadeva. When he tries to use his energies on the Shiva, what happens? Asiddharthanaiva kvachidapi sadeva suranare nivartante nityam jagati jaino yasya vishikhaha sapashyanni shattvamitar sadharanamabhut Smara smartavyatma nahi vashishupatya paribhava. So this is the story of the Kamadeva. Kama. Let us understand the meaning of Kama, because there are several meanings of Kama. But Kama word here, it's meant in a very broad way. One of the meaning of Kama is attraction for the opposite sex, which is very natural and very universal in this world. The second meaning of kama is the desires, and these desires are for all the objects, not just for the body or the opposite sex, but this the desire for all the wealth or the possessions. And sometimes this desire becomes a very intense desire, causes moha, causes lobha, and all these problems that happen. This is because of the intense vasana, the desire that we have, that no, I must have this. If I don't have this, I'll be very, very unhappy. So when this intense desire vasana happens, and this is it's called the raga, and this works from the sense, mind, and the intellect. So this is where the raga and the dvesha, they work from. This is what Bhagavan tells us in Gita Ji also, that this is the area from where raga dvesha work. Vashi is the person who has this control over the senses, mind, and the intellect, because Vashi is the word used in the shloka. And the person who has this Vasha, who has this Indriya, Mana, Buddhi under his Vasha, is called a Vashi. So this is the story of the Tarakasur, and let us understand that story before we go on to the understanding the shloka. There is an Asur called Tarakasur who worships Brahmaji, and Brahmaji becomes very pleased and asks for a boon. And Tarakasur says, I want to become immortal. Brahmaji says, sorry, this is not possible. Nobody on this earth can become impossible. And then he says, okay, then ask for something that is a very rare way that you can die. And then he, after thinking, Tarakasur says, okay, give me a boon that my death happens at the hands of the son of Shiva. And then he knew that Shiva is a Vairagi, is not going to have a son, and he's, so he thought that probably I'll never die. So Brahmaji says, Tathastu, and he disappears. So Tarakasur starts, winning over all the Devtas. He does a lot of battles, and then all the Devtas, they go into hiding because they have no place to hide. They go into forest, they go here, there. And then finally all the Devtas again go back to Brahmaji and says, please do something. Brahmaji says, what can I do? You have to, tell Shiva that something can be done, because only at the hand of Shiva's son, he can be killed. This Tarakasur, otherwise there's unlimited power and energy. So what Indra then requests Kamadeva, please help us out. And Kamadeva is the lord of the Kama, the desires. And he thought, okay, this looks like very easy, because he's already got over Indra and Brahmaji, and all have been, under his influence, a spell sometime in the past by some stories in the Purana. And Kamadeva thought, okay, then this is not a difficult thing for Shiva also. He will come under my influence, and this is how I can, make him a son can be born. So Shivaji, in the meanwhile, was in penance in the Himalayas, and Kamadeva makes a plan to break his penance. So Naradji goes to Himavan. Himavan is the father of Lord Parvatiji, the Himalaya Parvata, and requests Himavan. Himavan himself is a great Shiva Bhakta, devotee of the Lord Shiva, who goes daily to pray to Shiva, to worship him while Shiva was in his penance in the Himalayas. So Naradji tells Himavan, why don't you take your daughter? He requests that you take Parvatiji also to Shiva. So one day, Himavan takes Parvatiji to Shiva, and Shiva knew instantly that this is Parvati and this is the Sati in the previous Avtara and used to be my wife. He knows, so he immediately opens his eyes and tells Himavan, why did you bring Parvatiji here? And there is a dialogue between Shiva and Parvati. Parvatiji says, Prabhu, please accept me. Shiva says, no, I am in my penance at the moment, I cannot accept you. Then Parvati says, but I am Prakriti, you are Purusha, how can you remain away? We have to be together. Shiva says, no, I have to be in my penance at this point of, I cannot accept a woman in this time. And Parvatiji again argues that, no, how can a Purush remain away from, you can remain away from the body. The Prakriti is the body and all this nature. How can, there has to be togetherness. And then Shivaji finally laughs and accepts Parvati's request and says, okay, you can come here and pray every day, do my worship. That is how he accepts. So one fine day while Shivaji was in his penance, he was in his meditation, and Kamadeva comes with his Sena is called Vasanta Sena, which is like a very flowery kind of a Sena. Everywhere there is a flowery kind of a sensation. Shivaji suddenly in his penance, he thinks, what is happening? Why is this? The entire situation, the entire atmosphere is changing. And Shiva opens his eyes and sees Parvati in front of him. Parvati ji also is looking at Shiva with an intense desire, and Kamadeva is sitting somewhere in the corner. Shiva sees Kamadeva sitting in the corner and he understands the plan. What is the plan that Kamadeva is having Parvati, how they have made the plan, and he is revealed. He becomes very, very angry. He opens his third eye and Kamadeva is burned to ashes in front of him. So Rati, the wife of Kamadeva, is very, very upset, goes to Shiva and says that please make him allow. How can I live without my husband? And Shiva says, okay, he will be reborn as Krishna's son. And that is how Kamadeva is reborn as Pradyumna. And Parvati does intense penance. Shivaji goes away from that place. Parvati does intense penance. She leaves her food also, and that's why she's called Aparna. Shivaji is pleased, accepts Parvati as his wife. And finally then there is a Kartikeya is born. And Kartika then finally slains Tarakasur. And then Devas become happy. So this is how the entire story of Tarakasur, how Shiva, Kamadeva was burned, Kamadahan, and this is what this shloka talks about. So now let us understand the shloka. Asiddhartha naiva kvachidapi sadeva suranare. Now if we don't understand this story, we will not understand what is this context of the shloka. And all the shlokas, the stories are important, and it is the grace of the Guruji that she tells us all these stories before we understand the shlokas. So the arrows of Kamadeva, Asiddhartha naiva, they are invincible. They never come back without chasing the target. They all hit all the Deva, Sura, Nara, everybody, Asuras, humans. They all are hit by this Bana, the Kama Bana, Kamadeva, the arrows. So that is how intense the desire. It is affecting everyone. Nobody is out of this control. Nivartante nityam jagati jainaha yasya vishikhaha. These arrows are so sharp. Vishikha. Shikha means arrows are sharp. Vishikha means they are very sharp. And they never return, nivartante nityam. They never return empty-handed. They are always successful because wherever they go, they achieve its objective. Sapashyan ishaha tvam itara sura sadharana mukutaha. So Kamadeva thinks that Shiva also is like a sadharana person, ordinary man. He will also get under the influence of Kama, and he will also get attracted to Parvati, and then there will be the birth of, but he doesn't know that Shiva himself is completely under his own control. He is not under anyone's control. And that's why what happens is smara, smarta vyatma. Smara, he becomes like a smara. He is completely destroyed, Kamadeva, and he remains in a memory. So that's why he becomes smara. Nahi vashishu patya paribhava. One should not disregard the wise, the yogi purush like Mahayogi or Mahadeva. Disregard wise people, the accomplished man. One should not cross their roads. One should not disrespect them. One should not belittle them. One should not disregard them. This is the message that Pushpadanta Maharaj is trying to tell us from this shloka. Coming to the next shloka. The next shloka is a beautiful story of the Tandav Nritya. So Bhagavan Shri Shiva is considered to be the Adya Guru of all the dance, music, and all these art forms. He is also called the Natraja. And that is the Stuti. So if we first have to understand the story of Tandav Nritya, only then we'll understand what is Mahi Pada Dhatat. Mahi Pada Dhatat Vrajati Sahasa Sanshaya Padam Padam Vishnu Brahmyat Bhuja Parikharo Grukna Graha Ganam Mahurdo Daustham Yad Nijapruta Jatatadi Tatata Jagat Rakshayai Tvam Natasi Nanuvame Aiva Vibhuta. So this is the story of Tandav Nritya by Lord Shiva. So the story goes that one Asura who was doing penance, he pleased Brahmaji and asked, Brahmaji says, you ask for a boon. And he says, give me the power to destroy this earth. Brahmaji is getting perplexed. He doesn't know how to answer. He doesn't know whether to say yes or say no. So what he gives us some thought and says, okay, come back to Brahmaloka in the evening. I'll give you this boon in the evening. So Brahmaji becomes quite upset. He doesn't know what to do. So he goes to Shiva and he says, I've told this Asura to come in the evening and to give this boon to destroy this earth. Now, how can I do this? I don't know what to do, Shiva. You are the destroyer of this earth. How can I give this power to Asura? please help me. Shiva says, okay, don't worry, I will take care of the things. You go back to Brahmaloka, let the Rakshas or the Asura come in the evening, and I'll do whatever is to be done, I'll do the needful. So Asura comes in the evening, and what Shiva does is he starts his Tandav Nritya. Tandav Nritya is an art form of Lord Shiva where he does the Nritya on his own. And he starts very gradually with the Shankhanada, with the Omkar Nada, with the Damru Nada, and then with the feet, and gradually then it takes up and momentum, and it becomes a very fierce kind of a Nritya. So this is the Tandav Nritya. So when Shiva starts this, the Asura gets very engrossed. It's a very ferocious kind of a dance form. It starts very gently, but then becomes very ferocious, and then the Asura becomes also quite upset, fearful. He doesn't know what to do, and he forgets to ask for his boon, and the evening passes off, and that's how for protecting the world, Shiva had to do this Tandav Nritya in front of this Asura, and this is a courtesy, the grace of the Lord Shiva, who for the Raksha of the Jagata, he does this Tandav Nritya. So that is how the story goes. Now the description of this Tandav Nritya is in this shloka. It is like a Virata Swarupa of the Lord, which is also described in the Vishwarupa in the Gita Ji in the 11th Adhyaya. Similarly, here the Swarupa that is described is on all the three planes, the Bhuhu, Bhuhava and Swaha. So all the Bhuhu is the earth, the Lord's feet are on the earth. Then in his body, when he is doing the Cheshta, his hands are moving in the sky, in the Akasha Loka, that is the Brahma Loka, and in the Swarga Loka, his head, where his hair is in the Swarga Loka. So this is the description of the Tandav Nritya in this shloka. Jagat Rakshaya Tvamanatasi. It says that you dance for the protection of the world. You wanted to protect the world from this boon of the Asura. From outwardly, it may look that Bhagavan is doing a very ferocious dance where everything is shaking, moving. Mahi pada dhatat, Rajati sahasar, Sanshaya padam. The Lord's feet were thumping on the earth so strongly during the Tandav Nritya that the earth had a Sanshaya that it will just be destroyed. It was very strong. So that was how Bhagavan was doing a Tandav Nritya. Padam Vishnu Brahmya, Bhujaparighara, Rugna Grahaganam. That means the expanse of her hand while the Nritya was being done in the sky, in the space, in the Vishnu Loka was such that all the Graha Ganam, all the planets, all the constellation of all the stars and the planets was moving. Brahmbir, they were accelerating, they were moving at a great speed. That is what was the situation in this Tandav Nritya. Anivruta, Jata, Tadi Tatata, and his hairlocks, Bhagwan's hairlocks was in the Swarga Loka, and it was also moving repeatedly, and it was hitting all the other objects in the Swarga Loka. This Jata was Tadi Tatata. Muhur Dau Styam Yat. That means this dance was Muhuhu. It was going on and on. It was going on and on. It was not stopping. And the Asura was becoming engrossed in this. Nanu Vamayva Vibhuta. That means that, doesn't it that it's great men, Vama Eva Vibhuta, the great men have their own idiosyncrasies. Vama Vibhuta means Vakra Vibhuta. It's a very different kind of a vibhuti of the Lord, which we don't understand. A regular person like us human beings will not understand why Bhagavan is doing this very ferocious things. He's trying to create a fear. We may think that he's making fearful, but he's actually doing it for the Raksha of the Jagata, for the protecting this universe. So the Tandav Nritya, what is the significance of this Virata Swarupa world is in the Tandav Nritya. Guruji explains us that it is full of opposites. And this looks like a very Vakra Vibhuti of the Lord, Vameva Vibhuta. That means from outwardly it looks very ferocious, but it is actually done for the protection of the universe. And this creation, destruction, protection, destruction, all this goes on simultaneously on a universal level, Vyashti, as well as on a universe, on an individual level, in a Vyashti or a Samashti. That means that in our life also, the moment it is created, there is a creation, destruction, this all goes on simultaneously. And this is similarly mentioned in the Vishwarupa in Gitaji, which also initially Arjuna was very happy to see this, but then he became very, very fearful at seeing the Vishwarupa, and he told Bhagavana that please come back to your original Chaturbhuda Avatara. The real devotee sees Lord in all the forms, and he knows that his grace comes in all the events that happen in his life, and that's why he doesn't become fearful of the Lord. There is no fear because he understands that this is also one vibhuti of the Lord. This is also vakra vibhuti of the Lord. This kind of ferocious art forms is also a vibhuti, a part of the Lord. And even when natural disasters happen during our life, we should understand that this is for balancing of the universe. Maybe we see the loss that happens to the human life or mankind, but this loss is little in comparison to what the preservation of the universe that happens by these kind of natural disasters. So this is something which is beyond our understanding, and this is how we can understand what is happening in this life. And we have no right to question the Lord, and we have no right to complain towards the Lord, because Lord is the all-knower, He's Sarvagnya, He's Sarva Shaktiman, He has all the powers, and that's why we must trust Him completely, become a devotee to the Lord, surrender to the Lord, and instead of questioning why this is happening, why this kind of epidemics or pandemics are coming, why so many people are dying, something which is beyond our understanding. This is something that this is the Vakra Vibhuti of the Lord. This is how we can see the Lord in our day-to-day life. The next story is also a very beautiful story of the origin of the Ganga and the Stuti of the Ganga. Vyapitara Ganagunita Fendro Gamaruchi Pravaho Varam Yaha Prushatalagudrashta Shirasite Jagatvipaakaram Jaladivalayam Tena Krutami Yanenaivo Nayam Dhrutamahimadivyam Tava Vapu. And this is a story how Bhagirath, King Bhagirath, did a penance for the origin or the birth of Ganga on this earth. And this is a story which is a very beautiful story which is there in the Purana. So there was this king Sagara who was doing 100 Ashwamegha Yagnas because he wanted to become the Indra. Indra is the pada of the Swarga Loka. So this is the Triloka Rajya, the Rajya of the Swarga. And one who completes 100 Ashwamegha Yagna gets this Indra pada. So when the last horse was being released, Indra also gets very fearful. He thinks that my pada, my status will be lost, and that's why he captures this horse. And what he does is that he ties this horse in the Kapila Muni's ashrama. And so the horse is not seen, everybody is looking for the horse. King Sagara had 60,000 sons, and they were all on the lookout for the horse. Where is the horse? They are not finding the horse. So they start digging the earth to find the horse. And they dig the earth in several spaces, and this is later going to become the ocean on the earth. And they finally find that this horse is situated in Kapila Muni's ashram. It's tied there. And they go there and disrespect Kapila Muni, who was sitting in penance, in contemplation, in meditation. When Kapila Muni was disrespected, he became very angry. He opens his eyes, comes out of his penance, and with his yoga shakti was so powerful that all the 60,000 sons of Sagara king, they all get burned to death. Sagara king also had another queen called Keshini and his son Asamanjas. He was a Vairagi. He went to the forest, but his son Anshuman, he is a king. He goes to Kapila Muni and he completes a yagna, the Ashwamegha yagna, and he goes to Kapila Muni and he says, I want to liberate my 60,000 ancestors. Please show me the way. Kapila Muni tells him that only the touch of Ganga, it is so purifying, and it will liberate Uddhara. It will uddhar your ancestors, all the 60,000 sons of Sagara. And so this is how the story of the birth of the Ganga goes. Anshuma started doing penance, but he leaves his body without result. His son King Dilipa also spends his entire lifetime in penance, but fails to please Ganga. And King Dilipa's son, King Bhagiratha. So this is the third generation after Anshuman, who succeeds to please Ganga. So when Ganga is pleased, she accepts to come on the earth, but she has two questions. She says that my flow is so powerful that who will be able to hold my gushing flow? And the second question that she asks is that people will bathe in me when I come here and I'll become impure. So how will I remain pure after this? So King Bhagirath, he doesn't know the answers. He says, please, Gangaji, you only show the way. And she answers both these questions. She says, only Lord Shiva will be able to control my flow on this earth. And then if people bathe in me and make me pure, but all the Sant, Mahapurusha, all the saints also will take bath in me and they will make me pure again. So this is how, so Bhagirath worships Lord Shiva and pleases him, and Shiva accepts to hold Gangaji when Ganga will be born on this earth or Avtaran on the earth. And Ganga gets a lot of pride that if my flow is so powerful, how will Shiva be able to capture me in his hairlocks? That is the pride that Ganga has, and we know that Bhagwan does not like this, and that's why what happens is that Ganga ji is captured in the hairlocks of Shiva and becomes like a one small drop in the hairlocks of the Shiva, and that's how the Gangaji's pride is destroyed. But then Ganga is not able to come on the earth, and that's why Bhagirath again goes and pleads to Shiva and asks her to release Gangaji as a river, and Gangaji, from one hairlock of Shiva releases Gangaji on the earth, and Bhagirath goes and Gangaji follows the Bhagirath. She touches the Sagar suns, 60,000 suns, they all get liberated, and it floods the earth, it fills all the ocean, that the area which was digged by the 60,000 sons of Sagara, and it all these becomes filled with water, and the Jagata Dvipakaran, it becomes like the world becomes like an island out of these oceans. So a large part of is surrounded by water, the world. So this is the shloka. Let us understand the shloka. Vyadvyapi. Vyadvyapi means that the flow of the Ganga was in the sky, and it was so vast. Vyadvyapi, it was very vast. It was filling the entire sky. Tara Gana Gunita Phena Udgama Ruchi. The stars and the planets were reflected and sparkled in the Gangaji, in this like a phena, and it like a froth of the Gangaji. And this Udgama Ruchi, it raised the glory of Gangaji. Pravaha Varayam Prushatala Lagu Utrushta Sirasite. Such a gushing flow of Gangaji was then just captured in the hairlocks of Shivaji, and it looked like a one small drop, Prushatala Lagu Utrushta Sirasite, on the head of the Lord Shiva, because Gangaji became a lot of had a pride, and Bhagwan just captured Gangaji in his hairlocks and dissolved the pride of Gangaji. Jagat Dvipakaram, when it was released, the entire world was flooded with water. Jagat became a Dvipakaram, and that's why Jagat is also called Sapta Dvipa. There are 7 islands, and this is how the Ganga flooded the water, and the earth was released to a Dvipa. Jalavida Jaladi Valam Tena Krutami. So this is how and Tyat Anena Unnayanam Krutamahim Divyam Tavavapu. From this it can be deciphered how vast is the divine expanse of your body. Tavavapuhu, your body is so vast that you could just capture the drop of the entire Gangaji in a one drop, and this shows how vast your expanse is. The Lord's expanse is unbelievable. It is unimaginable for a human being. So this is the thinking of the expanse of the Lord, how it can help us, thinking of the expanse of the universe, thinking of the expanse of the oceans, and the expanse of the Lord is much beyond this expanse. And this helps to reduce my own minuscule false pride that I have all the time. This is how I can understand thinking about this, because ego is one of the biggest obstacles. It raises a lot of expectations, miseries in our day-to-day life, that I am the doer, I have got this wealth, these possessions, this guna, sadguna, all these are the things which creates a lot of problems. Our expectation from others are also because of our own ego, to satisfy our ego. And this false pride, it's very minuscule in front of the Lord, divine expanse of the Lord. And God does it in a very beautiful way. He draws a bigger line in front of us to show that we are a small dot in this ocean. And this is how we can understand the greatness of the Lord. The same which was done in the Vishwarupa Darshana in Gitaji was a very similar expanse of seeing the Virata Swarupa of the Lord, and that's how the ego or Ahankara of Arjuna could be dissolved. The next story is the story of Tripurasura, and this shows how Bhagwana is Sarva Swatantra, is completely independent. He does not have to be dependent, but then Bhagwana does also sometimes have to do some adambara, some show, and this is a beautiful shloka. Rathak Shoniyanta Shatadruti Ragendro Dhanuratho Rathange Chandrarkau Rathacharana Pani Shara Iti दिधक्षोस्ते कोऽयं त्रिपुरतृणमाडम्बरविधिः विधेयै क्रीडन्त्यो न खलु परतन्त्रा प्रभुधियः. So this is the story of Tripur, the three sons of Tarakasur. Let us understand this. Tarakasur was an asura who had three sons. They were great devotees of Lord Shiva and they wanted to become immortal. So they do a lot of penance. They please Brahmaji, and Brahmaji says it is impossible that you can become immortal, but you can ask for a boon where there is a very rare chance of your death. So you can live long enough to enjoy all this wealth and these earthly possessions. So they said that they want to have three pura, three plains, which are all very large, massive plains, which will keep roaming around in this Brahmanda. And when they come in one line, which will happen once in 1,000 years, and that in that moment, if there is a person who with one arrow will destroy all these Tripura, the three plains, these large aeroplanes, it's like a pura, like a city, and then only these three sons can be killed. So these three sons of Tarakasur, they were also called Tripura. So they then Brahmaji said Tathastu, and then these three sons started harassing all the devas and all the people on this earth, and all they started destroying the universe also. So these devas and all went to Brahmaji. They said, sorry, we can't do anything. You go to Vishnuji. Vishnuji says, you will have to go to Shivaji because they are all Shiva Bhaktas. I can't do anything about it. So they all go to Shivaji. Shiva says that, they're all devotees of mine. They do daily worship. They worship me every day. So you'll have to wait until their papa becomes more strong. And that's how they'll have to wait. So they waited. And then finally when the papa became strong, because the devas then went to Vishnuji and says, why don't you put some vigna into this yagna of this Tripura? So Vishnuji helps them, and that is how their papa increases. And then they again go to Shiva and tell him that now it is time that we can kill these three sons of Tripura, the Tarakasura. But Shiva says, no, we'll have to wait for another 100 years, because we'll have to wait till there all these three pura comes in one line, and that muhurta is important. So Lord Shiva in this time says we have to prepare to kill them. We have to create an astounding and unimaginable type of a chariot. And mounted on this chariot, he waits for that time. And then at that one point of time, he uses his Pashupatastra and destroys the Tripura, the three sons of Tarakasura. So Lord create a very big show, an Adambara. That is what Pushpadantacharya says in this shloka. He says, Ratak Shoni. Ratha, the earth was made into a chariot by Lord Shiva. Yanta, Shatadrutihi. Brahmaji was made a charioteer. Gendra Dhanu Ratha. Sumeru mountain was made the bow. And Rathange Chandrarko, sun and moon were made like the wheels of the chariot. And Rathachara Pani Shara iti, Vishnuji, the chakra along with the chakra were made the arrows, because Vishnuji is Sarva Vyapaka everywhere, so that they don't miss this moment. Sun and moon is also Sarva, they are quite vast, and that's why they were made the wheels, so these wheels could go everywhere. Sumeru is a large mountain which was made as a bow, and Brahmaji as a charioteer, because Brahmaji is Chaturmukha, he can see all around. And the earth is so huge that it was made into a chariot. So this is how an unimaginable kind of a chariot was created. And Pushpadantacharya thinks that this is more like a Adambara. This is the show that Bhagavan Shiva, he does not need to do all this. Just his Sankalpa Matra is enough to kill this Tripura Trunam. Trunam means, Truna Rupa means like a straw. Jo Tanakhla bolte, straw, like Tripura. Tripura was the great, all these three sons of Tarakasura. But why do you have to make this? I am Adambara Vidihi. Kaha. Why do you have to make this big show? Bhagavan Shiva, you have unlimited power. You could just do this by your Sankalpa Matra, by your desire. You could have killed Tripura, but he created a big show. And that is what Bhagavan is so clear, is so close to Pushpadantacharya, is so close to Shiva that he could talk to Bhagavan in this way and say that why do you have to create this Adambara? This is also a way that devotees, they communicate with the Lord. Vidheyai kridantyo nakalu paratantra prabhudiya. Prabhu, people like you, wise people like you, they are independent, they are swatantra, they are completely independent, they are not paratantra, they are not dependent on anyone. And this is why He sees that this is like an Adambar, you are doing a big show, Prabhu, you are completely independent, you can do anything or anytime. And this is the understanding that we have in our life, that God is independent, Bhagwan is Sarvatantra, Swatantra, Bhagwan is completely, and Sarvagna, all powerful, and he can he's just by desire, he can do all the action, and Bhagwan does not need any material, everything is dependent on him. He is not dependent on anyone, he is Sarvatantra, Swatantra. And whatever happens is, with his desire, with his awareness, if we can put this understanding in our life, that whatever happens in our life is because of his desire, and I try to merge my desires into his desire, then definitely I'll become happy. But when I have a desire and God's desire is something different, then there will always be a clash. But it's better to accept and surrender at his lotus feet. And if I have this understanding, then it is not that I don't do my efforts. I continue doing my efforts, which are important. That is also because of his grace, his desire. And finally, whatever results that I receive out of my desires, the karma phala that I get, I accept it by accepting it as a prasada buddhi, and accepting and surrendering this at the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the way how a devotee will understand. The next sloka is about the Shiva Bhakti of Lord Vishnu. So let us see this. It's a very beautiful sloka. Hariste sahastram kamala balimadhaya padayo yadeko netasmin nijamudahara netra kamalam gato bhaktyutrekaha parinatimasau chakravapushaha त्रयाणां रक्षायै त्रिपुरहर jagati jagatam. So this is the understanding that God is one. There is no bheda between Shiva, Vishnu. They are all the forms of the Lord in different, with different, duties, different swarupas of the Lord. There is one God, and this is what our Sanatan Dharma preaches us. So it also, our Purana also says that Vishnu is a great Shiva Bhakta and Shiva is also Vishnu Bhakta. Both of them, they worship, they devote, they respect each other. So Shiva and Vishnu, both are very dear to each other, and that's why there is no reason for the Bhaktas or the devotees to fight among themselves if they understand that both of these are one. And this Bhed Bhav that we have in our mind of Shiva is different, Vishnu is different, is because of improper understanding. It is because of Ajnana. It is because of inadequate interpretation of our scriptures, which tells us that Bhagavan, God is one. And that's why this also tells us or makes us understand that we should not disrespect any God, any religion, that ultimately everything is one and the same. All the spiritual paths lead to the same God. In the third shloka also here, in Shiv Mahimna also, it showed us that there is only one. All the patha, the Vaishnava Mata, the Pashupati Mata, all the, they all Eko Gamya, they all lead to the same God. So it is for my concentration, for my satisfaction, for my suitability, I can choose one God out of all the gods that are available in our scriptures. I can choose one as my Ishtadev, as my Aradhya Rev, with whom I can develop a connection, a devotion with one Lord. So Shiv Mahim Stotra, because it is a Shiv Stuti, it is here in this shloka, the Lord Vishnuji, his Shiva Bhakti is shown. And Vishnuji is the maintainer and sustainer of the universe, and that's why to maintain the universe he needs unlimited power. And it is said that this chakra gives him that power to maintain and sustain the universe. And this chakra was gifted to Vishnuji by Lord Shiva, and that is what is this Vishnu Bhakti shloka tells us. So let us understand this katha, that Lord Vishnu was a great Shiva devotee. He used to do daily seva puja, living in Kashi. He used to daily puja with 1000 lotuses with Sahasra Nama of Lord Shiva. So one day when Vishnuji was doing a Shiva puja, he found that there was a shortage of one lotus. After 999 lotus, there was no 1000 lotus, and he had made a niyama to do archana with 1000 lotuses. And it is said that Shiva himself has hidden this lotus because he wanted to know what Vishnuji would do. So Vishnuji appeared quite perplexed. He didn't know what to do. And so he decided to offer one of his eyes as a lotus, because he is also known as Kamala Netra or Kamala Nayana, Kamala Patraksha. These are the names of Vishnuji. His eyes are also like lotus, and that's why he decided to offer is one of his eyes as a last lotus. So he removes his one eye and offers to Shiva. Shiva becomes very pleased with this bhakti of Vishnuji, and Shiva appears and gives the chakra to Vishnuji, and this chakra itself becomes like a bhakti of the Vishnuji and gives all the unlimited powers to Vishnuji for protecting and sustaining this universe. The learning that we have from this shloka is that we should prepare for puja very well in advance with all the samagri, because we cannot sit up. It is not that Vishnuji could get up, do the asan bhanga, go and get the 1,000 lotus. He decided to give his own eyes as one of the lotus. So for any task, for any project, if we sit, we should prepare ourselves very well before we start the task. The other learning is that the obstacles come in our way to make us better, to increase our bhakti. That is the understanding that we should have in our life. So let us understand this shloka. Harit ste sahastram kamal balim adhaya padam. Lord Vishnu used to worship Lord Shiva with 1,000 lotuses every day. Yadeko tasmin. One day what happened was there was a shortage of one lotus. It was disappeared, and Vishnuji Mudahara Netra Kamala Nayanam, he surrendered one of his eyes, which is also called Kamala Nayanam. And what happened with this? That Lord Shiva becomes very pleased, and he bestowed Lord Vishnu with the Chakra Vapushaha, the Lord Vishnu with the chakra that was offered to Lord Vishnu. Trayanam Rakshaya, and this is the chakra with which Lord Vishnu protects all the three worlds. Always he is aware, always alert to protect the world. And that's why Shiva is also considered to be the sustainer or the maintenance of the universe by giving this energy. And that is what is the understanding. And in the final shloka of today's, we will see how Bhagwana is a karma dala phala data, kratau sukte jagrat. He is always aware, he is always jagrat to give the karma phala yoga. Karma phala is given by the Lord. And this is the understanding how even after the action is over, Bhagwana is always waking, taking care that the right karma phala goes to the right person at the right time, and he is the guarantor, he is a sakshi, he is a karma phala data, and we should have this kind of a faith in the scriptures. And if somebody does not do a proper justice, like a Daksha Prajapati who does karma but does not do it with a respect for the Lord, then what is the punishment also which he gets? Kriya Daksho Daksha, that is another shloka. So the last punchline in all these shlokas, if we see, is something as a message to the to us. Your devotion never goes in vain. The 10th shloka, the 11th shloka of the Ravana. Your one-pointed devotion gives ultimate fruit. And a wicked person, when Ravana becomes very egoistic, arrogant, what happens to a wicked person? Becomes deluded when he gets too much of strength. And then finally, Banasura, surrender. By surrender unto you, whose progress does not happen, it always happens. This is a message. And then the Samudra Manthana, when Visha was drank by the Lord Shiva, the dark stain, he became a jewel. His Vakra Vibhuta is due to his addiction for removing Bhuvana Bhanga Vasinanaha, addiction, removing all the fears in this universe. And the 15th shloka says, one should not disregard the Kamadeva story, one should not cross their road. And Vameva Vibhuta, it looks like the Tandav Nritya example, that great men, the wise people, they have idiosyncrasies, they have a Vakra Vibhuta. From outwardly, it may look very, very fearful or ferocious, but it is meant for the Jagata Raksha. And then finally, Dhruta Mahima Divyam Tava Papuhu, your vast expanse in the example of the Ganga Avtarana, how Bhagwan Shiva could accept Gangaji in making like one Bindu Swarupa in his Jata, and that is, and then the Adambara of the Lord to kill the Tripura Dahana story, that wise people who work independently. Bhagwan is Sarva Tantra Swatantra, he is not Paratantra, he is not dependent on anyone, he does not need to create that Adambara. That is what Pushpadanta Maharaj says. And finally, with this Tripura Hara Chakra, the Lord Vishnu protects all the three worlds, the chakra, and then Bhagwan is always Jagrata and protects the world with this chakra. So with this, we come to the end of the second session of Shiva Mahim Stotra. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।